Well, for a growing number of Australians, a traditional wedding vow of for richer or poorer doesn't always end in happily ever after. In fact, research shows money stress is among the biggest causes of relationship breakdowns. And with wages lagging well behind the rise in the cost of living, more couples than ever are feeling the pinch. So for today's agenda, we're asking, what are the foundations of a healthy financial relationship? And I'm joined by couple therapist Melissa Ferrari and Mark Bouris, Executive Chairman of Yellow Brick Road, two people with plenty of advice on the relationship and the financial side of things. Good morning to you both, and thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
Melissa, I'll start with you. There aren't many things that can tear a couple apart quite like financial stress. Why is it such a problem in relationships?
I think we're shaped psychologically in our childhoods around money. For some people, they come from wealthy backgrounds. Some people come from a poorer background. And so when we go into a relationship, we're bringing all of our experiences from the past. And so when you go in, it's kind of like, are you going to be like my family? Are you going to be different to my family? I'm more conservative. You tend to spend a whole lot more. And so you can really run into those problems when they're things that we bring from history.
So when do you start laying the groundwork for your sort of future relationship finances? Like, how early is too early? You don't want to kill the romance, do you, in the first stages of a relationship?
Well, I think it's important to enjoy that romance stage in the beginning of the relationship, but it's also very important to be keeping your eyes open as to what's actually going on. You know, some people with money problems, they're not even aware that they overspend because they've come from a family where that's pretty normal. So I think it's really important for the first 6 months to 2 years, to keep an eye out on the other person, what their spending habits are like, what you don't like. I really think in relationship we reveal ourselves very slowly, and I could even say up to 2 years before you fully see who someone is.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see, Mark?
I think, I'm glad you, by the way, you clarified at the beginning that this is the relationship expert, I'm the finance expert. Common errors. I think the big one is a mismatch in the education of the two people. Melissa was just saying that based on it's not just education, it's based on how you've grown up and your experiences. So if you're the person in the relationship that knows that there is a mismatch, then I think it's incumbent upon you to fix a mismatch. So if you're the person who doesn't know as much as the other person and you're aware of that, then you should make it your business to make the other person aware that you know less than them. On the other hand, if you're the person who knows everything, and I think it's also incumbent upon you to bring the other person forward. It's all about knowledge of each other's positions. So it's not enough to say, I've got all the assets and I've got all the liabilities, you're new to the relationship. The other person doesn't have a right to know either, by the way. So I think you have to sit down and sort of say, listen, this is my position. I'm okay at the moment. If there's any change in that, I'll advise you. That's the starting point.
So just like in business, I suppose, not only do you have to be honest with everyone around you in your spending and your habits, but first of all, you've got to be honest with yourself. How hard can that be?
That's very important, to be honest with yourself. But you've got to be like that whether you're in a relationship or not. But the big problem most Australians have is we're not honest with ourselves. I note that, for example, wages in this country haven't gone up for a long, long time, yet interest rates are likely to go up. So if someone's got a mortgage and they've got a nice asset, a lot of Australians are not honest with themselves in terms of their ability to continue making the payments on their mortgage if the interest rates go up. Now, that's a discussion that needs to be had. Across the board and with your partner.
What about pooling finances, Melissa? In your experiences, have you seen that is the best way for a couple to approach their finances, shared bank accounts?
Well, look, I'm a big advocate for putting the relationship first always. And so you've really got to work out what works between the two of you. But psychologically, we're always working on what we call differentiation, which is where you've individuated from that person enough to say, I'm independent and I'm going to spend my money this way. But I think if you really want to have a relationship that's full of all the goodness, I think that combining is better, and maintaining your independence is great, but I don't think it's a great thing to do around money. And really get transparent, the two of you, around what you're doing around money. These surprises that come out a couple of years later can be so damaging to a relationship. And I think transparency is important, but I also think if you don't know yourself very well about money, get to know yourself around money. money, because you are going into a relationship with another person, and that's a two-person system, not one.
Would you agree?
I've got a view on that.
Yeah.
I'm an economic rationalist, so if I could put aside the psychology and all the relationship stuff, at the end of the day, pooling your assets sounds interesting. It has two advantages, or has one main advantage. If Melissa and I go into a relationship and we want to borrow money, it's far easier for us to borrow money if we put both our incomes in together, number one. But on the flip side of that, if I've never owned a house and Melissa's already got a house, and we go into the asset together, then we'll miss out on all the grants that the state government's giving around stamp duty.
Yeah.
If Melissa already owns a house and her and I go into buy a house together, then all of a sudden it gets pulled into her land tax position. So my view on these things is, let's not put anything to chance. Go and see someone who's an expert, both of you. Trot along to see someone who's an expert and get some advice.
Well, we put this to our viewers at home to see what their thoughts are on this when it comes to money stress and preserving your relationship. Here's what some of you had to say. Danny wrote in saying, be honest about money, don't hide those little purchases and don't lie about how much you've spent. Amanda has posted, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, clearly means nothing to so many people if money is a reason for divorce. If you can't be supportive during the hard times, you clearly don't love the other person as much. And Carrie says, make financial decisions as a partnership and allow each other discretionary spending without judgment. That's an interesting one, because there is this school of thought around pooling finances, but also having a little bit of independence on the side and not being judgmental of each other's, you know, sort of small purchases beyond that. What do you think about that, Melissa? Just a little bit of independence on the side to keep the mystery there,
I think
maybe?
you do need a little bit. I mean, you want to buy your partner a present sometime. You want to be able to go out and have coffee with friends and things. So I think a little bit of money to yourself is fine. But on the big decisions, I think pooling together is really going to make you feel more like a couple. Because when we feel more like a couple, it can create that more safety and security. But of course, you've got to know who you're getting into a relationship with first, and so I really advise people take your time before you jump in.
Mark, finally, some of your best tips for people entering a relationship and laying those foundations, the best ways to perhaps lay the good groundwork and to maybe safeguard your own personal interests as well.
Go on a prenuptial agreement, day one.
Yeah.
Don't surprise someone 6 months down the track. Hit them up straight away. Say, listen, this is my position. My position is we need to get this all sorted now. Let's go and see a lawyer, get it fixed up early days. And then for me, sorry, but keep it independent, both of you.
Is that showing a lack of trust in the person you're marrying, though, by signing a prenup?
No, I don't think it does. For me, I trust you, I trust you, you've got to trust me.
Yeah.
We're not in this because of our assets or our ability to pull things. We're in this for some other reason.
What do you think, Melissa?
Well, remembering I'm putting relationship first, you know, and so I think that trust needs to be there and the transparency needs to be there. So it really is about where your thinking is. And for me, it's relationship first.
Two very different schools of thought, but both very, very interesting and very useful, I think, for everyone at home. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing your different expertise with us this morning. It's such a huge issue and so many couples, families grapple with it. So thank you very much for sharing your insights this morning. There you go. Take that and do what you will with it, Ben and Deb.
Yeah. It's great. Different schools of thought, though.
Yeah, really interesting.
Cherry pick bits from both.
Good on you, Mark. Melissa, thank you very much for that. Up